All right, I'm here with Dr. Ken Berry, and uh, he is awesome, as you all know, because all of you guys that follow me, you know about him. You know that I oftentimes do a watch party with his Monday nights that he does with his lovely wife. And he is the author of one of the easiest to read books I've ever read on just simply laying out the truth for you on many just very simple things. I'm not going to lie, Ken, I'm Italian, Anna Maria Papani. That was my maiden name. So my favorite chapter is Eating Processed Meat Causes Cancer. I'm so happy to know that that's a myth and that I can have some salami and even spam if I want to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Eat your meat.
So talk to me about, this is such a trying time for people. Everybody's quarantined. You have all these people saying, oh, change your life, write a book, do this, do that. But we really know that just simple, small changes can really have a great deal of impact on health. So say someone was eating just the way we always ate, that we didn't know we were doing anything wrong, where we're eating all of these grains, we're having cereal and low-fat milk and all of this stuff, and maybe not even that much junk. What can this person who wants to have a big impact on their health, like what 3 things could they do to change their health drastically that wouldn't be difficult?
So my big 3 first steps, if somebody's just coming to this low-carb, keto, carnivore thing, and they're like, wait, what? What are you talking about? So step 1 is to remove all sugar from your diet, both natural sugar and added sugar. And so the sugar that's in a glass of orange juice is just as bad for you as the sugar in a glass of Coke. And to many people, that's sacrilege. What are you talking about? That's God's sugar in that orange juice. Trust me, get rid of all the sugar. That's step 1. Step 2 is to get rid of all grains from your diet. This includes wheat, rice, oats, and corn, definitely, but it also includes millet and rye and quinoa. Every grain is the seed of a grass, and the grass doesn't want you to eat its seeds because that's its babies, right? And so all grasses put phytotoxins in their seeds. Some people react to these very aggressively, and other people, it seems like they don't really have a reaction to them. But the other part of the grain, of the seed, is carbohydrates. And all of these carbohydrates break down into, what was step 1 to avoid? Sugar. These carbs break down into sugar. Even the carbohydrates that come from 2 slices of whole grain, non-GMO, organic, stone ground wheat that was grown in the mountains of Peru. Does Peru have mountains? I don't know. But even that wheat breaks down into sugar. I'm sorry, that's what it does. And so step 2, get rid of all grains. Step 3, get rid of all the industrial vegetable seed oils. This includes canola oil, corn oil, soybean oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, anything that you basically can't squeeze or cook on the stove and get oil out of it. It's not a natural oil. It's very high in omega-6 fatty acids. It's very inflammatory to your body, some people more than others, but to all of us, it's just not a proper human food. And so those are the first 3 steps of changing your diet. And when you remove those 3 things from your diet, not only are you going to reap the benefits of losing fat, lowering if you're type 2 diabetic or pre-diabetic, you're going to lower your blood sugar, your A1C, you're going to lower your insulin level, you're going to lower your levels of inflammation, but hundreds of other good things are going to happen in your body that we could talk about for hours and hours, and indeed I have on my YouTube videos.
Yes.
Hours. And so that's the thing. And then step 4 would be to fill your diet with fatty meat, whether that's from the ocean, whether that's from the pasture. I don't really care, as long as you're eating lots of fatty meat. And then we can quibble about whether you should add some veg or not. I think some people do fine having, half of their plate full of vegetables, non-starchy, but other people do best when their plate is covered with fatty meat. And I happen to be one of those people.
I am too. I've never done better. And I would say I'm like 97% carnivore. If I have a vegetable, it's usually going to be a pickle, or I might have some mustard, or I have maybe a little sauerkraut. Once in a while, I'll have like, we had some Brussels sprouts on Easter. I had some of those. But for the most part, I eat meat. And nobody cares in my family. They care that I feel well. I have
That's right.
pretty much recovered from 4 autoimmune diseases, and I'm on nothing, no Humira, no nothing right now. Now, I was off for 10 months and I had to go back on my Humira, but I'm able to go off of it now with this virus. And it's so empowering to know that I don't need it all the time, and maybe someday I won't need it at all. I don't know. I'm not against medicine, and I don't think Ken is either when it's called for and when it's needed. However,
Right.
what if we can mitigate a lot of that? Like I, for instance, know that I've had people get off of their insulin in 1 week, just eating 3 meals a day of the kinds of foods that are actual food and not snacking between meals, just simply eating less often. That's a part of it too, isn't it, Ken? I mean, everybody's so snacky and.
Yeah, I really think it's a combination of eating a low carbohydrate diet, whether that's an ovo-lacto-pescatarian diet full of vegetables, or whether that's a carnivore diet full of just fatty red meat and some organ meat. That is the spectrum of the proper human diet. And like you brought up, one of the very first medicines that a type 2 diabetic will have to stop within a week or two of adopting this way of eating is the unnecessary insulin. Because the truth of the matter is that a type 2 diabetic on insulin, their pancreas is still making insulin.
Yeah.
They're just eating so many carbohydrates that it's not enough insulin, so they have to inject more. When they stop eating all of those unnecessary fattening, inflammatory carbohydrates, quickly they'll no longer need their insulin. And for many type 2 diabetics, their insulin is the most expensive medicine that they take. And so if your medications, if you're type 2 diabetic and your medications are about to break the bank for you right now, because I know times are tight, stop eating all of the unnecessary fattening carbohydrates, and you can not ever have to fill that insulin prescription again.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because I know a lot of the pushback I get is, oh, it's too expensive to eat this way. But in reality, you see like a box of cereal and however many ounces they are, steak costs less per pound than cereal does, you guys. And
Yep.
It does not have to be grass-fed. If you can get that, that's great. We live in Nebraska. We're the beef state. Everybody knows somebody with eggs, and eggs are like $2 at the most from these little ladies and these children that sell their farm fresh eggs with their stand-up thick, beautiful yolks. We are lucky
Yes.
where we live.
Absolutely. And I think it's that way in most parts of the country. Even if you live in a metropolitan area, I guarantee you, if you just put on your Facebook, hey, who knows someone who sells farm fresh eggs? I don't care if you live in New York or LA, I bet you money there's somebody within 10 miles of you who has hens in their backyard, and you can buy 1 or 2 or 5 dozen eggs a week from them for $2 or $3 a dozen.
Well, and something else that occurs when you begin to eat this way is your hormones self-regulate. And so
Big time.
your leptin kicks in, and that's your hormone that tells you I'm satiated, I'm full, I don't need to eat. So you actually eat less without even counting calories.
Exactly.
And so you save money.
That's exactly right. And that's why calorie counting or calorie restriction or portion control, they really don't play a part in a ketogenic or a carnivore diet. When I sit down to my meal of ribeye and beef liver, do you think that I'm like, okay, I'm going to have a palm-sized portion of ribeye, and then I'm going to have just 2 ounces? No. I eat as much ribeye and beef liver as I can hold, and I'll often crack 2 or 3 farm fresh eggs, and I'll put the yolk, and I'll mix it up with a little mustard, and that's where the majority of my plant matter comes from is condiments and spices.
Right.
And I'll mix that up with my mustard, and then I dip my meat in that, and so my mustard is now turned into a superfood because it contains 2 or 3 raw egg yolks, which are full of nutrition. When you put egg yolks or beef liver up against something like kale, everybody says, oh, kale's a superfood. But when you actually compare the nutrition profile of an egg yolk versus the same weight of kale, it's ridiculous. Kale is a distant second place when it comes to nutrition for human beings. And so I eat as much of that ribeye and that beef liver as I can hold. When I'm done with that meal, I'm stuffed. But that's it. I'll eat 1 or 2 meals a day like that, and I'm not hungry for the rest of the day, because that meal hacks all of my hormones in the proper direction. Not only my insulin stays super low normal, which is very good for burning fat and very good for your immune system, but also my leptin and my ghrelin hormones, the two that are kind of in charge of your hunger, they move right to the sweet spot where I'm not hungry. And so I haven't eaten today, and it's 3 p.m. I haven't eaten today. I'm not hungry. I don't need to eat. But when the time comes and I do need to eat, I'm going to eat like I mean it.
And it's crazy too, because it happens so quickly. And I think people, they get nervous about it because they hear all these stupid things about, like, you know, keto flu and this and that, which really it's carb withdrawal is what it is. And it's people not knowing, get that salt shaker out, you know, and get some salt on your food, because bread has more sodium in it than almost anything. And that water that carbs hang on to in your body, this is, you know, keeping you puffed up and all of this. And so, you know, it's the balance of staying hydrated, and switching fuels can be a little difficult, but eat more fat, right? Especially in the beginning. Eat more fat.
Eat more fat, get your electrolytes, and use plenty of Redmond's real salt. That's the solution to help you cope with the carbohydrate withdrawal symptoms, but you're still probably going to have some. And you know, they wanted to call it the keto flu, but really we should call it the carb quitters flu.
Yes.
When you quit smoking, it's well known in the community that you have the quitter's flu. They call it that. And when you quit drinking, you have the abstinence flu. They actually call it that because the symptoms are from withdrawal. And carbohydrates, especially the processed carbohydrates, are very habit forming. And when you stop eating them, you're going to have a few days of carbohydrate withdrawal symptoms, or what I call the carb quitter's flu. That doesn't mean that you should go back to smoking the cigarettes, does it?
No.
Doesn't mean you should go back to drinking the vodka, does it? Doesn't mean you should go back to eating the carbohydrates either. You need to just tough that out, eat plenty of food so you're not also hungry at the same time. Use plenty of electrolyte-rich foods. Make sure you're using your Redmond's real salt, and that's going to make those symptoms less severe. But once you get through that, and it varies for people anywhere from 2 to 10 days, just depending. But once you get through that, on the other side of that withdrawal symptom is a level of health that you may never have thought you could achieve again. And it's really a beautiful thing when you get on the other side of that. You're like, wow, I had no idea how crummy I actually felt on a daily basis until I got here in my journey.
Oh yeah, personally, I've had autoimmune symptoms since I was a young child. I had psoriasis of the nails when I was like maybe 6 years old. And then I ended up with horrible migraine headaches. And I think I weighed like 105 pounds at 19 years old. Turns out I had celiac, but first I had to get diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, Sjogren's disease, you know, and then the celiac. And when I removed gluten from my diet, it was like, oh my God, the Tin Man got oil. And I was on an immune suppressant. I was on, you know, Humira, 30 milligrams of prednisone, Plaquenil, which, you know, is in the news now and everybody knows what it is. Right. And I was on methotrexate for 3 years, and I could barely move. I was miserable. I actually didn't care if I died. And I have a child now that's 16 and my oldest is 35. And I didn't care because my health was shot. And I exercised, right, and I ate that food pyramid. I made sure I got those heart healthy grains. I was eating oatmeal. I wasn't eating crap, Ken. I was eating quote unquote healthy foods.
And many people reach out to me. I'm on TikTok trying to reach the teenagers, right? And I made a TikTok video about fibromyalgia. And I said, basically, it's your diet. And I've gotten hundreds of comments of people who are very upset with me saying, no way, I eat a healthy diet. And my question is, what diet do you follow? And without a doubt, it's full of whole grains, it's full of low fat, it's vegan, it's vegetarian, and I'm like, yeah, that's not a healthy diet for a human being. That may be a great diet for a cow or for, some ruminant, but that's not a human diet. I'm sorry that you've been misled, but you weren't eating a healthy diet for all those years. Just like you thought your diet was healthy.
Right.
That's what
I
you were
was
told by
yeah.
television, by magazine ads, by newspaper ads, by your doctor, by your nutritionist, by your dietitian, by rheumatologist. You were told that's a healthy diet. Yes, eat more whole grains. You're like, well, damn, I'm already eating 2 pounds of whole grains, but okay, I guess I'll up it some more. And what none of those people knew, they were all well-meaning, weren't they?
Yes.
They wanted the best for you, but they were just wrong. And that's what we've got to come to grips with, is that your grandmother who taught you how to eat was just wrong. Your mom who taught you how to eat, who you love and respect, was just wrong. They didn't know what they were talking about because they blindly believed the advice that came from doctors and other gurus. They read their books, they watched the television shows. They were well-meaning. They thought they were feeding you a healthy diet, but they were not. And it's not their fault, but it is your problem. And you got to fix it now if you want the health that Anna and I are talking about.
And I've got to say, the biggest lie we've been told is that sugar is an empty and harmless calorie. It is a toxin. And the way your body has to deal with that is why you are getting sick.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
there's a reason that
Coca-Cola
wants you to count calories. And there's a reason Coca-Cola is making those little tiny cans now, right? And there's a reason that Coca-Cola sponsors all these athletic events. They want you to believe that it's calories in, calories out. Move more, eat less. And so they're like, you can have a little can of Coke. Just go run a mile. It's okay. Burn more than you take in, and it's all the same. And they also want you to believe that all calories are the same. And that's why I make fun of the calories in, calories out model, because it's been hijacked by big food. And so no one can have a meaningful discussion about human nutrition if they're talking about calories. Because the instant you say the calorie word, all of our teaching from our grandmother and our mom and all the television commercials, all that comes back to us. And then we're utterly and completely confused. We don't even know where to begin. And we walk away feeling like a glutton and like a sloth. It becomes a moral judgment on us. Oh, I just suck. I can't go run on the treadmill. First of all, I freaking hate running on the treadmill.
Right.
Secondly, my knees hurt. I mean, can you imagine you back, Anna, when you were eating that diet, trying to run on a treadmill? You could barely get off the couch.
Miserable.
Yeah, you walked away feeling bad about yourself and thinking there's something wrong with me. My genetics are wrong. I don't know. I'm lazy. I eat. I don't know. I eat too much. I guess that extra piece of whole wheat bread I ate, maybe that was what did it. No, you were poisoning yourself that entire time. The calories don't matter. Calories in, calories out is stupid. Stop following that. We've been getting that advice since the 1960s. That advice is what has given us the obesity epidemic. Stop listening to that. It does not make sense when it comes to human beings eating a proper human diet.
Right. And this also goes back to insulin, because when we eat something, and this is our baseline blood sugar, we're supposed to have about a teaspoon of glucose in our blood. So we eat something like, say, I loved Raisin Bran. That's 44 grams of carbs in 1 cup. That's equivalent to 11 teaspoons of sugar. And I never ate just a cup. Let me guarantee you that.
No one does.
Here goes my blood sugar. Here goes my insulin. And then here goes my blood sugar below baseline. And this is where we get hangry, right? Because there was no such word as hangry. And that's that I have low blood sugar. I have to eat. I have to eat frequently. And this is our body getting hijacked by the calories in, calories out model, forcing us to get that homeostasis. We've got to have that blood sugar up. We have to. It's part of our survival.
And when you depend on sugar from your diet for your blood sugar, then you're going to have the spikes and the lows and get hangry, and you'll have to have another snack. And that's what big food has done. You remember the little snack wells, 100-calorie little.
Oh, yes.
It's like, this is only 100 calories, right? And then again, the little tiny can of Coke, right? And so let's use your model. Here's our baseline insulin. You eat that little snack well, you're going to spike your insulin level off the chart. When you drink that tiny can of Coke, boom, your insulin goes off the chart along with your blood sugar. You could eat 3 pounds of ribeye and not spike your blood sugar and your insulin as much as that tiny little 100-calorie snack well, even, snack well. And so let's talk about portion size. Let's talk about serving size. This is another way that big food blames you for your obesity, right? So they'll say, oh, like for instance, Raisin Bran. A serving size is what, a half cup of the cereal and a half cup of skim milk. Who eats that much? And so you're at home alone and you're like, well, I ate that and I'm still ravenously hungry, so I'm going to eat some more. And typically when I used to eat Raisin Bran, I would eat, we called them Jethro bowls in my house. Remember Jethro from the Clampets?
Yes, of course.
I would eat a Jethro bowl. So it was probably 5 or 6 servings of Raisin Bran and probably 3 cups of 2% milk. And that would fill me up at the moment. My blood sugar and insulin were off the charts, right? But I felt bad about myself because I couldn't eat just that little serving size like everyone else does. Hey, here's a news flash for all you guys. Nobody eats the serving size. Big Food is well aware, and I don't understand how there has not been a class action lawsuit against one of these big food manufacturers for the obvious delusion that they're misleading us, they're lying to us. No human being could live if they ate the serving sizes that Big Food says, oh, this is a serving size, right? They wouldn't sell us these huge family-sized 22-pound bags of breakfast cereal if they thought you were just going to eat a half cup with a third of a cup of milk. Where's the federal government in all this? I mean, they're supposed to be regulating this, but somehow they're okay with Big Food misleading and lying to every single person that buys their products. I don't get it. But I've given up on the federal government and I've given up on all the regulatory bodies. That's why I'm doing YouTube and Facebook, trying to talk to just regular people and say, hey, they're lying to you. Stop believing them. Look look at the advice. Look what it's gotten you. Look what it's gotten your family.
Right.
Look what it's gotten your brother and your sister and your next door neighbor. You guys are all either morbidly obese, or you have an autoimmune condition, or you have fatty liver, or you have type 2 diabetes. All those things came from the food that you've been lied to and misled into believing is healthy food, a healthy diet.
Yes. And part of hunger too is because you're not eating nutrient dense food and your body craves nutrition. And if you think that you can fool your body into thinking you're getting enough protein when you're eating this crap, you may as well eat cardboard infused with a multivitamin when you eat cereal, because the only nutrition in cereal is the fortification. And they have to do that by law, because you would be short in nutrition if you ate all of these grains and it didn't have a multivitamin infused into it. So
that's exactly right.
And I want to say something to parents. If you're going to change your diet and you're going to still feed your kids like that, think twice, because kids ages 3 to 5, and I know I'm right about this, are the fastest growing cases of obesity. And we used to call it adult onset diabetes.
That's right.
We call it type 2 diabetes because little kids get it. And this fatty liver disease that he referred to, I call it high fructose corn syrup fatty liver disease, because we call the other one alcoholic fatty liver disease. So why not blame what's really causing it instead of
I'm going to steal that. Yeah.
Please do. I'm stealing your proper human diet.
Fructose fatty liver. I love that. That's beautiful. Yeah. Fructose fatty liver disease. Yeah.
Because that's what's causing it. And it's hidden in so many things. And, people want to talk about complex carbohydrates. Well, it's a complex carb. That's just a bunch of simple sugars holding hands. That's what Dr. Unwin says. And I love that. So I steal
100% true. Yeah. All the starches, all the complex carbohydrates, that's somehow magical. And that's why every few months I'll put up my little visual that says, this is the glucose and fructose from a Pepsi Cola. And this is the glucose and fructose from organic, non-GMO, whatever, sweet potato or orange juice or wheat or whatever you want to say. And I'm like, can you spot the subtle differences between the glucose and fructose in natural sugar versus added sugar? And I can just see people just looking like it's a game, like this doesn't match. Where's it different? And they're finally like, these look the same to me. And I'm like, that's it. You got it. They're the same.
And you know what? Another thing that I like to tell people with, and I'd like to leave them with this, is that you don't need your doctor's permission to change your diet.
That's right.
You can
You
tell
didn't need your doctor's permission to start eating the standard American diet.
right.
You didn't need your doctor's permission to start eating a vegan diet. You don't need your doctor's permission to start keto. 100% agree. Or carnivore. You're exactly right.
But if you are on a medication, you need to keep your doctor informed. So what I would do and what I have my clients do is just call their doctor and say, hey, I'm on insulin, I'm on high blood pressure medication, I'm on this, I'm on that, you know, whatever other, because usually you start off on a bunch of other medications before you get to insulin. And the truth is, the longer you've been diabetic, the more medicines you're going to get put on unless you change what you're putting in your mouth. So you just need to call your doctor and say, I'm going to change what I'm putting in my mouth. And I need you to help me figure out my medications as I go. You're not asking them permission. You know, I think Ken is going to actually interview him, but one of my doctor's partners, and you all know his story, is a type 1 diabetic. And he did a presentation at the hospital for the cardiac rehab people. And he had a meme up there of a lady that was sitting on an examination table. And the doctor was looking at the chart saying, oh, you've lost weight, your blood pressure is great, your blood sugar is down, you're no longer on insulin, but this keto diet is going to kill you. And this is the thing that we're going to have to battle through. But what I'm seeing is when my clients go back to their doctors are like, whatever Anna's telling you, just keep doing it, because we're basically helping people get off of medications. And there are some doctors now that are specializing in this, that are literally, what do they call that when they're getting people off of medications? De-prescribing, I think they're calling.
Yeah, you call them a good doctor. That's what you call them.
And my husband, and those of you that go to him know, you are going home being told to stop eating cereal for breakfast and have bacon and eggs. You are being told to read the obesity code or the diabetes code. You're being told to have some time between meals, you know, this kind of thing. So I really am very grateful to have you here, because I know a lot of my people have a lot of respect for you, and so do I. You're not trying to sell anybody anything. And
Nope.
if you do make some money off of this, good for you, because this is your passion and your life. And if every person that gets well because of this, and I would like to say, I don't care if you're not a coach. So what? I'm a coach. If you have had changes in your life, your story matters and it counts, and you should get out there and talk about it.
Yes.
You don't have to tell people what to do, but just sharing, this was my before picture, this is my after picture, here were my labs, here are my labs now. This kind of thing, you never know who you might inspire, and it's going to take that kind of connection, because Ken is right. I wrote to my senator about our diet, and I got a call back from their office saying there's really nothing they could do, and that I needed to write a letter to the people that are, you know, researching this, and if I could give them research to prove this and that. And I said, but wait a second, they don't have research to prove what they're hawking.
Oh, interesting. So you're saying there's no research in existence that proves that the standard American diet is even safe for humans to eat? Is that what you're saying, Anna?
That's what I'm saying.
Interesting. So then we shouldn't really have to come up with a lot of research to prove that keto is healthy, when there's no research proving that the standard American high-grain diet is healthy. Interesting.
I'd like to see the studies if there is proof that it's healthy. I haven't been able to find any.
There's none. There's none.
And so, you know, I find it absurd that I'm being told by my senator's office that I'm supposed to come up with proof when they're basing one on zero science.
Exactly. And that's why I've given up on government and all these agencies. I'm just going to talk to the regular guy and gal on the street and tell them exactly what you just said. If you've changed your life with keto or carnivore or low carb or banting or whatever, post about it on your social media. Are your neighbors sick of hearing about it? Probably. But I don't care, because there's one person out there who's going to see your story on their feed who's never heard of it before, and they're going to go, wait, what? You're telling me I can reverse type 2 diabetes? I've never heard that. What are they talking about? Include a link to a YouTube video, include a link to a book, include a link to a Facebook Live, so that when their pure curiosity is piqued, they've seen your before and after picture or your before and after labs, and they're like, holy crap, how did they do that? There's a link. Boom. Click on that. Now you're off to the races. You've let the cat out of the bag, and you've just potentially saved that person's life. How powerful is that?
Right. Even just have a watch party. You guys are on every Monday at 7. Have a watch party with this video. We gave you so damn much information. You don't even need any more information than what we gave you right here, right now to change your life.
Yep, that's it.
So anyway, thank you so much, Ken. You guys follow him on everywhere because he's worth following. And this book is beautifully written. I just want to show you, like I said, my favorite chapter, just to show you how quickly and easily this is written. It's like little bullet point blurbs. You don't have to be a scientist to read this book. All of it
That's
has
exactly how I wrote it.
homework. It's not a textbook. It's just here's the facts. This is what you can do. It's so straightforward and simple. You don't have to do the diet hokey pokey. You just need to just get some good information. Thanks, Ken.
Thanks a lot.